three different types of depreciation methods. Your book talks about only two of them, but I want to introduce you the third one as well. One is straight line. Equal amount of depreciation is expensed during the tax life of the asset. And it is IRS that determines what the tax life is. You know, this computer probably has a tax life of 3 years. A car probably has a tax life of 7 years. I mean, I don't know for a fact. I'm not an accountant, and I have no intention to be one. As I joked previously, you know, I'm a surgeon with numbers. I would have made a hell of a CPA, but I would have also shot myself. I mean, I can't imagine being just a numbers guy like that. Another one is the so-called depletion method. This is typically used for natural resources or assets with an expected measurable life. Let's say you own an oil well and you have 1 million barrels of proven reserves. If you take out 100,000 barrels that year, you basically depleted 10% of that. So you write off only 10%. If you chose to take out the 300,000, you're going to write off 30%. Or this typically happens with transportation equipment. You have a truck and you're using it in construction. You know, useful mileage out of a construction truck is probably, let's say, 100,000 miles. And if that truck did 50,000 miles that year, you can write off 50% of the original purchase value. That's what the depletion method is. The third one, which is more general and people prefer it, it's called modified accelerated cost recovery system, affectionately known as MACRS. Okay. IRS gives you a schedule of depreciation percentages. Of course, we're not British, we're gonna write that with a C. Even the British doesn't spell it with an S. Percentages based on tax life. You get to write equipment cost a lot faster than straight line. I already kind of developed a template for this for my other classes, so I don't want to spend time developing it with you. Let me find that. For those of you who are going to take my Finance 301, don't have to watch this lecture. Let me see. Lecture videos. Where are you? Okay. Let's open that up. Didn't I create a folder for today? Apparently, good. November 13. Come on, come to Papa. Of course you're creating problem. I hate Microsoft's fake security thingies. Today a student sent me an email while we're in class. This was a macro-enabled workbook. The email still hasn't arrived. I see it in its sent file, so it's sent. It's probably gone to my quarantine messages. It's from an EKU student to an EKU faculty. Why? Because it's using Microsoft 365. I'm not a big fan of Microsoft, as you may have guessed. Did I tell you the story of their open? Oh, I forgot. Properties, unblock. Did I tell you the story of their first operating system for IBM PCs? Okay, in 1982, IBM figured out we should do some personal computers. They already had workstations for corporations and mainframes. That was their moneymaker. But they said, okay, let's say this, it'll be a novelty item. We don't expect to make too much money. So they basically hired these guys. And let me show you how those guys look like. Microsoft people in 1978. Okay, these are the Microsoft people. I mean, look at that. That's Bill Gates. And this guy probably, was a porn guy in the 70s. That's a hippie. I mean, look at that sideburns. Think about it. You're IBM executives. If you actually took IBM PC seriously, would you have given any business to these guys? They did. And Bill Gates showed what a smart businessman he was, even though it did a disservice to the entire computing industry. They had written an operating system to an Atari 8-bit machine. Okay? The IBM PCs were 16-bit. And that means much faster, given the same processor speed. Instead of writing, you usually write a lot of the operating system in machine language or the assembly line language. It's rather costly. It takes time. It's not like writing code in C, Fortran, or what have you. And they had already written an operating system for Atari. What Microsoft did, they wrote a piece of code that told IBM PC, you are an Atari 8. Okay, it's called an emulator. Then, as soon as IBM PC believed that it was an Atari 8, they just plugged in their operating system, done. Is it efficient? Yes. But, the code wasn't optimized for the machine, so it was slow. To this day, that kind of culture still resides in Microsoft. They done their ChatGPT. It has all sorts of problems. Had Google done something like ChatGPT, it probably would have solved every single problem I had in the quizzes. I'm glad it doesn't, because otherwise I have to change a lot of stuff. But that would have been rather easy. Anyway. All right. Now, this is a maker's table. IRS classifies fixed assets into, for Baker's purposes, 6 different lifetimes: 3-year, 5-year, 7-year, 10-year, 15-year, 20-year. And oddly, a 3-year maker's schedule writes off the asset in 4 years. Go figure, right? But what's important is, straight line would have written only 66.66 in 2 years, right? But makers writes off 77.76. Or a 5 years, straight line would have written only 40% the first 2 years. Makers writes off 52. You know, over 3 years, it writes off 71. Straight line would have written off 60. So you write it off more quickly. That means you get the tax benefits more quickly. I kind of did a kind of template here on depreciation calculations. You ask your depreciation type, you enter your depreciation type, your tax life, and on what year you're going to do the salvage. The salvage depends upon the so-called book value of the asset. And book value of an asset is original purchase value minus accumulated depreciation at that time. So if this is a 7-year makers, what's going on here? You know, you get all the depreciation percentages. If it's 3 years, it's easy to do. If you're gonna do a straight line, don't worry about misspelling as long as the first letter is S. It takes care of that. Or if it's depletion, and you actually have to enter individual depletion amounts, percentages for each year. For the purposes of this class, you'll never need that. This is something that you can use in your own life later on. So I can even type an M here. It knows that it's makers, okay? But for example, if this is a 10-year makers, and I'm doing the salvage in year 7, the book value is 22.94% of original purchase value. It does that using a VLOOKUP. You know, if you want to look at the formulas. Now, the way we calculate salvage value